The blueprint is number one that they are able to grind this into a muck. Not that Denver can't succeed through the muck because they can. They have Nikola Jokic. He is kind of like muck proof. But their thing is going to have to be to do what they've done pretty much every series since playoffs, which is make it really, really grimy, which is make it uncomfortable. And it's for Jimmy to, I think, really be prime Jimmy and foul hunt and that ankle. I don't like. Maybe it's just you take game one and you just kind of coast and you take that game and take the L, and then game two you kind of rev up a little bit. But Jimmy, if Jimmy is not just trying to draw 10, 12, 14 free throws a game, they're not going to win a game in this series. Like he has to, I think, be that and make Jokic uncomfortable in that way. That's the vulnerability.
Sure.
They're not exactly the perfect team to, I think, break that open, but Jimmy would be the path to do it. And then you got to get lucky with your role guys again. You need Robinson and Strus and Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin and all these guys to show up and hit things, and then we'll see if Hero comes back. I don't totally know if Hero would be such an interesting wrinkle to this, Brendon, because they need the offensive punch. They need the shooting. They just need more offense, particularly if against Denver, if they want any shot.
Yeah.
But there's also just a change in quality that you will have if you don't have Hero. But I think this all starts with Jimmy. It's about Jimmy and how that goes from there. And obviously, we'll talk about it more, but the Bam Jokic component of this is going to be fascinating.
Yeah. So let's go back to the Jimmy and Jokic foul part of it, because you said it's not a perfect guy to do that. Maybe prime James Harden is the perfect guy to do that, but Jimmy is.
I mean, the guy, the perfect guy. There's two guys that come to mind, two formulas. I think it's prime LeBron, who's just downhill and could jump all the time, and then I think it's Durant. I think those are the two.
Well, Durant didn't do it, so
but
that's where I was going to go. Is
no
one else has done this, and LeBron was the other. Obviously their last opponent, and this, I mean, it's come up as we've talked about the Nuggets all playoffs. I don't fully get why it is so hard for teams to try to exploit Denver defensively, and particularly Jokic. I think it's that the margin for error is so small that, again, you don't always have time to hunt Jokic when you just need a bucket. I would have liked the Boston matchup a little bit because it would have been the first time Jokic would have had to guard on the perimeter with the actual 5-out team. He hasn't had to do that. A little bit against the Lakers, I guess you could say, but not in a real way. And then the Jimmy component is the other challenge that the Miami, now that we know that's who it is, could pose. And if there's anybody who's going to just try to junk it up and commit fully to that bit, I feel like it's Jimmy. And so some of it is just, you have to be trying to do it. You have to be committed to saying, we're going to exercise our advantages. And I don't think any team Denver has faced has actually been able to consistently say, you're going to play our game. You're going to respond to what we do. Maybe the Heat are not going to do that either. But that's part of what has to happen, is you can't just fall into their trap of up and down, letting them score, letting them get to what they want to do. And Jimmy, I think defensively is part of that too, because you have in our notes that he's going to be the guy to guard Murray. They also can be one of the only teams that has actually tried to switch the Jokic-Murray pick and roll consistently. And I think Jimmy defending Jokic, especially late in the clock, is something that could be interesting in the series too.
Yeah, I think the question just goes, how healthy is he?
Not very.
So, does he have that gear in him, or is he the meme come to life of him slumped over the side? Is that where he's at, just with the ankle, with his health, with his gas tank right now? I think that's very possible.
Well, that's why Hero would be so big,
minutes.
right? If they could just get 15 points a game from Hero, that would make such a difference.
Well, and someone else to initiate the offense and be in control of the flow. That would be a really big deal. Hero just doing that maybe gives Jimmy 10% more energy to do other Jimmy Butler shit.
Yeah. So you mentioned how the Nuggets are just straight up more talented, and the Heat have been the less talented team in just about every series that they've been in. Maybe not the Knicks, but Miami had this.
Well,
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Heading into this game, Miami had the 6th best half-court offense in the playoffs and the 8th best transition offense. I don't know how that team is going to the finals, yet here we are. But I just don't know if they're going to be able to score enough to keep up with Denver. Like, it just, all the stuff we said is going to matter. But just like straight up point blank, I just don't know if they're going to be able to match if the games are in the 110s and 120s the way that Denver has played. I just don't think they can win that way. And can they really grime up 6 games, 7 straight games against a team that's so polished like the Nuggets? Like, the one thing that the Heat do have is they're plus 23 in the clutch in the playoffs.
sure.
Denver's plus 9, so it's not like they've been bad. Boston was minus 2. So, that's part of why Miami won this series. But is that even enough of an advantage over the Nuggets? Like, I don't really know of any offensive pathway for the Heat to like say we're going to own this series on the offensive end. I don't see a portion unless it really is just, Jimmy with 20 free throws a game.
Brendon, here's the answer. There's not an offensive pathway. It's not. I don't think it's. I think it's beyond. I don't know if there is one. There isn't one.
Yeah.
They're not built to get in to. Like, Nikola Jokic loves the ponies. Definitely was probably watching ponies instead of watching this game.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the ponies to keep up with Jokic. They don't. Like, there's just no. Even if Hero comes back and is right and his cardio isn't affected in a meaningful way, they're just not going to keep up. It's just not going to happen. Like, there's just not a pathway for Miami to compete with Denver in that way. They have like one very narrow path to victory. They've won, and it's the muck. It is Jimmy. And it is good enough defense, and just you hope to God that some of the shooting for Denver breaks the other way. That's it, and that's the path.